Hello and welcome to Voices of Parenting podcast. I am so glad you're here. My name is Mussi Diskin. I am an advanced nurtured heart approach trainer. I am a parenting coach. I am also an inner wealth coach, which means that I help people rediscover and connect to the people that they truly were all along, but may have gotten forgotten along the way. So to find out more about me and what I offer, you can check out mussidiskin.com. I would love to connect and I would love to hear your feedback. Reach out to Energizing Hearts. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, everybody. I am here today with Dr. Dovid Levy, and I am finally here, I say, because it's been too long that I haven't had him here. Dr. Levy has been in the Nurtured Heart community probably longer than I have, if not as long, and we have not had a conversation one-on-one, so this is exciting. So you are a psychologist, to the best of my understanding, child psychologist. If you've ever asked me for anybody, you know that I always send you his number and his information. It's a very big gift, and specifically as Orthodox Jews, to have a doctor, nurtured heart person in our community is really a big gift. And because we're limited on time and we're not going to be able to do 2 recordings today, I kind of have this desire to just dive right into, instead of like your whole story, which you can thread it in as much as it just naturally happens. But what I really want to hear is like, back in the day when you heard about Nurtured Heart and you got started with it, what was it about Nurtured Heart that like drew you in, that made you stay, that made you excited? What did Nurtured Heart spark for you?
Okay, sure. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love to have a free-flowing conversation. And okay, so Nurtured Heart. So it brings me back to I was working in a clinic. It was my what was it? It was my first year being a licensed clinical psychologist. So I had 2 years before that I was working in a particular clinic full time as both a pre-doctoral intern and then a postdoctoral intern before I got licensed. And I really was very early on specializing in working with challenging children and with parents. And the particular model that I was using, it's a model known as parent management training. And parent management training, it really is, it's about helping parents in a very systematic way, using behavioral principles, help them facilitate change for their children with regards to decreasing those negative behaviors, increasing the positive behaviors, but doing it in somewhat of a relationship-based way. I remember that the thing I love most about the approach was a concept called shaping, and it was a really integral part of the approach. Whereas the therapist working with the parents, I would both help. Shaping is basically the concept that in order to get to a desired behavior, you positively reinforce every increment of that behavior from beginning to end, and you're basically praising every single step along the way. And my role was both to help a parent do that for the child and for me to do that with the parent. That was really the only part of parent management training that I liked. And that's when I realized maybe I need to look for something else. Maybe I need to look because the only thing that really landed for me in terms of working with parents was really number one, well, really just empowering the parents and helping parents empower their children. That was really, it's interesting because there's so many approaches out there, and I'm a big believer that you got to go with an approach that matches your personality, that matches what you're passionate about. You got to have something you're passionate. You got to be connected to what you're doing. So there are a lot of psychologists in the field, therapists in the field that work with children, work with parents that are connected to different types of behavioral approaches. And I say kol hakavod, meaning, if it's a fit for you and you're making change and doing awesome work and changing lives and for the better, go for it. It wasn't working for me. The largely behavioral methods, it wasn't a fit. Not to say that there aren't a lot of behavioral truths in the kind of work, in the nurtured heart approach work, but in front and center in terms of what landed for me and what I felt and how I felt I could be impactful was to be able to, as I noted before, to help parents empower their children, and for me to empower the parents when there was chaos going on and all seemed like everything was hopeless. And the only way that I felt I was able to do that even before I got into the approach was through really making the relationship front and center, the relationship between the parents and the children. How can we work on the relationship? And before Nurtured Heart, that's what I was trying to do with all the methods that I had from my own training that were at all relationship based, right? That's what I, and that always is what made things better, right? Even with all the star charts and the reward systems and the timeouts and the punishments that I did integrate into the work, the only thing that really seemed to really make things better was when I put the relationship in the forefront, but a relationship that I had with the parents that I was working with, in which I was empowering the parents, and the relationship in which I taught how parents can you learn to have the kind of relationship with this kid that is spitting in your face, that is punching you, that is calling you all sorts of vulgar names. How can you now switch and have a focus in which your methodology, your intervention is to empower them? Empower them, but I gotta stand up for myself. I have to empower them. Yes, and that was all pre-nurtured heart. So I was like, so where can I get that? Like, where can I actually get that more solidified? Where can I get that in an approach, right? Is there an approach like that? And I don't know. Maybe I saw it online, Nurtured Heart Approach. I forgot exactly how I saw it. But, like, I don't know, it intrigued me. Nurtured Heart, it intrigued me. I think I saw something about, Howard Glasser in a given video talking about energy and how much energy are we bringing to the table, when our kids are misbehaving versus how present are we when they're doing well. And I'm like, this is it. I didn't even know for sure it was it. I just this is probably it, right? So so that's when I went to their full comprehensive week-long training, and it's just so connected with me, and that's just what I've been doing, and it's been awesome.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm like buzzing. You got so passionate and alive, and I could see how much this is you more than Nurtured Heart. It was just the right match because this is what your soul was here to do all along, and you were even doing it all along in whatever way you had. And Nurtured Heart just really gave you like the full permission and full space to just like run with it, and I love that. It's just exciting that so many of us are out there, allowing. It feels to me like no kid left behind, no parent left behind, that we're allowed to have meaningful relationship with the people we love, even when there are things that aren't good yet or aren't good at all, that that doesn't have to be a life sentence, and we get to still be in connection with the people we love. We don't have to, sever anything. And it really helps us do that in a healthy, balanced way. So I love that. And
Yeah.
I want to know about yeah, go ahead. Let's
I
just
just
talk.
but I also just want to normalize like the position that parents, including myself, are in when they're having like real problems at home, and that the first inclination is okay. The first inclination is not okay. So how do I like transform my relationship with my child? Oftentimes, the first inclination is how do I get on top of these behaviors? How do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this chaos? How do I get rid of this challenge at home? And that's often, why the behavioral methods are just so, they draw you in, because they give kind of like the direct promise that this is what's going to do it. It's going to directly, and even if they're not going to give a promise, but that's what they talk to. It's the pain point. I'm going to take away the pain point. So, that's why parents don't, parents want to take away the pain point. But I just saw that doesn't work, right? Even though that's what we want, and it makes sense that that's what we want, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And what we come out with is so much, so much better when we don't operate with that agenda.
So I'm curious. So walk me through that. Like I'm a parent who comes to you. You're this child psychologist, right? So I come to you expecting that you're going to take my kid's problems away, and I walk in and I'm, okay, doc, here's what's going on, blah blah blah. How do you navigate that shift?
Oh, it's a great question, right? So, I definitely have to acknowledge the pain. I mean, first you acknowledge that you know, there's, there's a lot of pain. You acknowledge that there is a lot of challenge here, and I think, you know, a couple of things. Number one, um, you know, whatever you've been trying. Often parents come after they've been trying many different things to decrease these behaviors, right? Right? So yeah, so tell me. I'm very open. Like if like you listen, if the star charts, right, and the punishments have been like working for you where you feel even with all that stuff, you feel connected and it's peaceful and it's still your child is thriving, so great. Like great. I'm not here to like push you into like another way of doing things when everything else is going well. But the fact of the matter is, you're coming here to me because you've tried all that directive stuff and it's not going well. So I just help the person say that because that's their truth. The truth is, right, it just hasn't been helping. It hasn't been helping, even though we want it to help. We want these rewards to help. We want the taking away of the privileges to help. Right? We really do, right? We also want it for our relationship. We want a better relationship. We want it, right? But it's just we're faced with the fact it's not. Oh, so maybe something else can. And then this is very important. This is very important. So it's such a great question, Mussi. Hey, it's such a beautiful question because all of this kind of work is all about like the shift. How do you help them go through that shift? We're all going through shifts. What's a shift? It's something internal. Something internal. See, when parents come to me, unlikely to, any psychologist, they're not necessarily thinking about internal. They're not operating from like, a reflective stance. They're operating externally. They're looking outwards at the pain, at the behaviors, right? So oftentimes, a lot of what I have to do is just help them reflect internally. Like, what's life, what is the home like for you? What comes up for you, or how are you responding within yourself when your child is doing all of this? Or what's your relationship like? Do you want it to be better? So, and then they start to kind of, yeah, things have been pretty negative. I don't have a good relation. It's almost as if they're like coming up with, oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes they're coming up with this like, um, almost like a novel idea that the relationship just really isn't that good. But they didn't know that before. Of course they knew it before, but the focus is just trying to create like, peace in the home, stability in the home. Um, and it's not necessarily top of mind, but what's my relationship like? Where's my reactivity in all of this? Am I always feeling irritable around my child? When they're doing something good, am I just like, thank God? There's no, how much positive emotion vis-a-vis negative emotion am I feeling in relation to my child is just not something we necessarily think about until we're you know we're told to reflect on that, or we're brought in to reflect on that. And once parents often do reflect on that, so then, including myself, I mean, this is the same. We're all doing this together because sometimes because we all get into this, we're all roped into to to the mindset at times of, okay, how am I going to get on top of this behavior? How am I getting on top of this behavior? Right, right. I find myself doing that as well. How am I getting on this behavior? And I have to reset. So right, I have to kind of wait a minute. Right, where am I vis-a-vis my child around this? And of course, we want to get on top of certain behaviors. It's not that we don't, but how can I make what's going on for me and within the relationship more integral to the intervention that I'm going to take with my child, and that's part of what I do.
That was a beautiful process. I think that it is so much like whether conscious or not, it's this like if I only this, then I can. So it's like, let me just get us in order here in this issue. And then once I get this issue in order, like, then we can have relationship. Then you can have the childhood and the adulthood and the future that you deserve. Like, if we fix this, then, but like, what's happening meanwhile? I don't know why, but as you were talking, this flashed this like example. We did a little family road trip to Mexico, and we lived close to Mexico, and it was quite crazy. First of all, we were in a car accident. Thank God everyone was okay. The car was not, but we were. But also the Airbnb we rented was a complete pigsty. Like the cleaners had not shown up before we came, and whoever was there before, must have been a huge group because it was just a ton of things everywhere, food stuff. And I'm just thinking like the image of like nurtured heart versus not nurtured heart is like how knee jerk is it? How easy is it to just be like, oh my gosh, we can't vacation here. Like, quick, like, let's clean up. And I'm just like imagining myself getting to that frenzy that I do all the time in the morning, before a holiday. Like, there's all those stressful times where it's like, we just need to get the checklist done. I can't smile at you. I can't talk to you. I can't sit with you until we just get the checklist done. Once we get the checklist done, I'll be able to sit on the couch. My kids call me out on that all the time. They're like, you say later, but then later it's time to go to bed, or later you're too tired. So like, when is later? And it's true. And like, but in the vacation mindset, we didn't do that. I didn't clean up. We didn't fix the car. We went out. It was on a like private beach. It was a beautiful little spot, and we went out. It was so crazy. It was so much, and we were only going to be there for like, we had it for like one night. It was just a 2-day thing because it's close. It's a close drive. So we were able to just go in and out. It was a one night thing, and we're like, this is it. We will spend the entire day that we're here cleaning if we try. It was so, and the car, we can't fix it. We don't know. There's no solutions until tomorrow anyways. Like, it was just, we went outside with the kids. We lit a fire. We roasted marshmallows. I had my little kosher Instapot. I made dinner. Like, we just ignored the mess, ignored everything. In the end, they sent cleaners and it got cleaned and whatever. We went to bed way later than we would have. But like, so what? It's our vacation, right? Like, but it's clear when it's like a 2-day thing versus like if our whole life was a vacation. And the point of our life, like I hear you asking parents, like, what's the point? What do you really care about? Ultimately, of course, is the relationship, is this beautiful human in front of me, is this opportunity to be a family, to be a tribe in the world, to have, that legacy in the world. I don't know, whatever we believe in about family, but it's like the people are the point, but it feels like we can't do that yet. But yet, when's yet? Like my kids say, like, when's later? When? And then life is short. And we all know our kids grow up, we get tired, we get old. Like, things happen. So yeah, it sounds like.
But you see, but I mean, it was beautiful. The way that you say that, you make it seem as if, in a way, doing that on that vacation was in some ways perhaps more doable than it is to do an every day, because the whole goal was to have the vacation. So you had that kind of clear in the mind. The truth of the matter is, I would argue and say it was just as you accomplished just as much of a feat, because in the end of the day, it's all about kind of getting out of that knee-jerk reaction. I mean, one of the awesome things about Airbnb is you go to it and it's just so beautifully clean, and like it's prepared for you. And it's often, I know I've gone to Airbnbs, like it's just nicer looking than my house, and it's beautiful, and that's the whole awesomeness. And there you come, and like, what? This like kind of defeats the whole purpose. It's like, it's opposite. It's because it's my vacation. How in the world could this have happened, right? There was so much opportunity, and it would have even been so understandable if you would have just been so in yourself, in that moment of understandable frustration. And I don't know how you pulled yourself out, but you pulled yourself out of that. But that's what you did. You pulled and that's what you're talking to. Every day you're pulling yourself out of that knee jerk, right? Of that just understandable, like habitual. What did you just do in front of me? What? How do you get your? How do you? I mean, and everyone has to do it, in their own. You had perhaps your way of doing it, and but how do we get into a practice of just pulling out of that, and then just like freeing ourselves, like to to what we really love. Like, we're all together on this vacation. Let's just like get the marshmallows. Let's just really like free ourselves of this, of the how can I free myself of the mess that I feel inside me, to just really be with, like, what I really love. And that's hard. That's so hard to do that. You did that, and that you're right. That is really the work. That is the hard work. So good that work, but it is
Thank you for
hard.
making this an inner wealth experience for me, for everybody watching. Like, you're watching us nurtured heart right now. Like, that's the point, really. Miracles for Molecules is one of the intentions, but let's pause in life to recognize greatness. Let's pause in life to empower each other that, like, things actually are amazing. And I'm going to own that it was amazing. And you make me consider a different aspect of it, which is that I was able to do that, like reflecting on how I was able to do that, and it was actually natural for me, which is so miraculous for anyone who knew me, I don't know how many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, like, so miraculous that it was my knee-jerk reaction to be, let's vacation. Like, that was my, but that is Howard calls it default setting, changing the default setting. Like, my default settings have been changed from the opposite, from needing to do that in my home again and again and again and again. So every day, 100 times a day, because this is my work in Nurtured Heart, because this is what I want for my family. There's too much diagnosis and too much family history and too many mental health issues and too much stuff for me to ever not decide that relationship and our family comes first, because we will have a good life and because we will have a good family and because my kids will not be, will not have life sentences because of the stuff that they were born into. We are a good family. Like, that's my stand zero, like, that's my bottom line with Nurtured Heart. And so with that work, it was, but something for all of you to know, especially those of you who maybe are solo Nurtured Hearters, what I see as one of the huge gifts of my Nurtured Heart is that my husband's not with me on this. Like, he's not nurtured. I mean, he supports me and he's proud of me, but he's, not into learning it or doing the work or anything like that. And my kids are kids, right? But because I was okay, because I was like, OMG, look at this house, like, that's funny. Let's go vacation outside, whatever it was. I was calm. Like, they looked at me for the reassurance. They looked at me for how to react. And they saw that I was smiling, and they saw that I was laughing, and they saw that the reaction that they can have is to enjoy their vacation and laugh about it and have a memory to talk about, till we're old. And so that's what everybody did. Like, even my husband was calm after looking at me, right? And so we can be that. Like, it takes, right? Like, light expels darkness. You could be the light. You don't need everyone else to be on board with you. You don't need to worry about how other people are going to react. The inner work that you're talking about when you ask parents to go internally versus externally, it's like a gift that keeps giving in every way, because just we can anchor everyone around us, not by anchoring them, by anchoring me, by anchoring us. So powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so powerful. Right. We can be the impact. We can be the impact. And also but what you're saying is, you're casting a lot more hope, perhaps, and optimism than I was just reflecting before when I was saying it's so hard. What you're saying is that perhaps in the beginning it's hard to rewire, but like when that you're talking a little more to your journey, in when you've created that new habit of consistently coming back to, what, what is my value, and what do I stand for, and what am I going to, what am I going to turn to in times when I could, go the other direction. It becomes easier. It becomes my new normal. What a gift. That's so nice, and that is so hopeful that when you do this work, you're rewiring the brain, you're creating these new habits, and it gets easier to be this unbelievable impact. Um, that's great.
I need to honor your time. I want to honor your time. You have to go in a minute and a half. Can you tell us, if people want to reach you, find you, listen to you, work with you, how can they do that, and what should they expect? And we'll put it in the show notes after.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can Google me, Dr. Dovid Levy, and you'll see I have a website, transformparenting.net. I also have a Psychology Today page. Contact me on my email, drdavidlevy@gmail.com, and reach out. Reach out, and we'll set up a time to talk. We'll see if I can really help you.
Thank you for giving us this time. This was such a treat. I love this conversation. I'm all powered up to go face my day.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here.
All right.
Hey, wait, don't go yet. Take a minute to find the beautiful quality that you have, that you appreciate about yourself.